All right, welcome back to Let's Make a Picasso Portrait with photos. All right, so where we left off, we were editing this up. So I was basically using X, or using the default black and white, using X to switch back and forth and painting on the mask here. And this is looking pretty good, but the colors are really off here. So we're gonna add some smart filters, and I'm also gonna use this time the opportunity to crop this down too. So I'm going to just crop this down so we don't need to see that extra stuff. This is where we're going to, somewhere around here. All right, and since these are both smart objects, I didn't lose any of the image data. I could always go back to those original objects, and they'll actually open in Photoshop. For example, if I double click on this image right here, it's going to open in a new window. So you just popped up. This is that original image, and I could edit this, and those changes will show up right here too, but we're not going to mess with that. So I'm going to close that out. And what I do want to do though is add a smart filter. So with hue and saturation. So because these are smart objects, when I would do like a destructive change, those come in as smart filters. So for example, if I make this background not a smart object, if I rasterize this layer, I also just lost all that image data, but that's okay, I don't need it. Because I rasterized it, I changed it from a smart object to just a normal pixel layer. And then if I go up to image, adjustments, hue and saturation, any changes I make here will be destructive changes. So I change that to red, right? I just made that. I close this out at that is a destructive change, right? So I'm gonna hit Control Z to undo that. Don't have to see that cursed image anymore. Okay. So if I was gonna do that, the way I could do that would instead go to Layer and New Adjustment Layer, Hue and Saturation is gonna do the same thing, and I'll change this, make them green this time, right? But now I could turn that on or off freely. But because this is a smart object, I'm going to drag that to the trash. We don't need that anymore. So I'm going to right click, convert to smart object. So it's a smart object again. When I go up to image, adjustments, hue and saturation, and I want to try to match these now. So because the front facing image was in the excuse me, the shadow, so I'm going to bring the darkness down a little bit on the top image. Oops, I'm sorry, I am on the wrong layer. So I'm going to cancel that, and again, I'm going to go up to image, adjustments, hue and saturation, and I'm going to bring the darkness down a little bit. But as I make this darker, I probably want to saturate it again, so it's a little oversaturated. And then I think I'm going to change the hue too much. All right, so then those are matched pretty well. All right, so see that came in as a smart filter. I could turn that on or off again. All right, you see how like looks like I'm wearing a mask or something like that, but now I matched it a little bit. All right, and so the next thing we want to do is make that eye really, really big. So what I want to do is I'm going to hold Control and select all my layers. Then I'm going to click on the folder icon on the layer panel, and that groups all those things together, kind of puts them in a folder. And now I want to duplicate that. So I'm going to take that group, I'm going to click and drag that over to the new layer icon. And I just basically duplicated that, and you can see I could do the same thing from the layer panel options. So now what I'm going to do is take this one group and flatten it. So I merge this together. So basically that's a destructive change. I just lost all my layers. That's why I duplicated it, because I still have them right here. All right, so now what I want to do is with the lasso tool, I'm going to draw around the eye here. And then once I have this selection, I want to make a mask out of this selection. So I'm going to click on the mask button, and you can see now, well, you can't, if I'm going to turn the other group off, you can see I just masked everything but the eye on this particular layer. So I'm going to turn that back on. So this is where I hit Control T, which is the same as going to edit, free transform. And you might want to undo that, and you can see I could zoom out even a little bit more, because that's the original frame of the whole image, right? So I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to make this, or not hold shift, I'm just going to make this much, much bigger. I think that looks good. And then I'm going to zoom in again. And then with this mask, I'm going to brush, make my brush bigger, turn the hardness down to 0, and blend this giant eyeball in. And there you go. Now we've got, I'm going to hit Control 0 to fit into the frame, and I've got a giant eyeball masked on top of everything else. All right, and this is a good place to stop. We're going to stop, and then the last video, we're going to add a color background and change this into black and white and export it. Oh, what we forgot to do with the last video. Oh my gosh, I did not Control S myself. So let's make sure that we hit Control S. This is a good place to save. All right, see you guys in the next video.